Greetings, metaphysicians. This is episode 158, Expect the Unexpected. That's right, many things in this divine cabbage that is unfolding before us are quite unexpected, and it is hard to know what to feel about everything going on in the world right now, but there is, in fact, a divine plan. Enjoy the episode.
You're listening to Let's Get Metaphysical. This podcast explores the spiritual and metaphysical world through the experiences and opinions of the host and those interviewed. It should not necessarily be seen as direct endorsement or personal advice to our listeners. We encourage you to use your own discernment, judgment, and intuition regarding anything you learn from this show.
Let's get meta.
Welcome to the Let's Get Metaphysical podcast. I'm your host, Renata Maniaci, here to remind you that you are an eternal soul having a temporary human experience here on lovely planet Earth. Make the most of it. This is Season 7, Heaven on Earth, and this is episode 158, Expect the Unexpected. And we're just going to jump right in. Are you ready? Let's get meta. Masters and angels, I request your presence, guidance, and support through this episode. Please help these words to be useful to all listeners on their evolutionary journey. Let me know the truth, speak the truth, become the truth, and be the truth. And please let this episode reach whoever needs to hear it. Thank you with gratitude and full faith. Bless creation. Okay. So the phrase, expect the unexpected, has been in my mind for the last couple of weeks. So here we are doing an episode on those words, centered around those words. And there's not much to explain by that. I'll give some examples. We'll see what comes in. But there's a lot happening on the planet right now, and there has been. Some of those things are way out of the ordinary, or what we would take to be a normal thing or a normal reaction to something. We have a president who was either forced out of re-election or decided on his own to not seek re-election, which is very unusual, very unexpected. We have deadly hurricanes in the mountains of North Carolina and Tennessee. We have Black women openly voting for the white male candidate. We have white men openly voting for the non-white female candidate. We have several discontent nuclear powers in the world right now. And yet, for my new moon event this month, I always pull cards for the new moon event, and one of those questions is usually always, what can we expect from this month? Or what is this month, this new moon cycle characterized by? And that card was new life, which is a really powerful, positive card in the deck. And the card that we also needed to pull, the question around that was, what else do we need to know about this new moon cycle? And we pulled one of the other best cards in the deck, which is Blessed, which rather speaks for itself. And that was the energy of those cards was for the world, for all of us. The energy of this moon cycle. There's all of these unexpected things. The day of the new moon this month was also the day of the solar eclipse. And usually I feel really naturally high on eclipse days. It's just, I don't know if it's my chart or whatever, but that's usually how I feel. I felt the opposite. It was really a difficult day for me. And I think that eclipse did have some influence. Astrological events do affect us on this planet. Everything is connected, so they do affect us. A passing asteroid or comet does affect us, can affect us, just as astrological events like eclipses and equinoxes and everything else can affect us as well. But I wasn't doing well, and it goes to show that the cards, as we pull them for these events, are always spot on. I just wasn't expecting positive, not just positive, but some of the most positive cards in the deck to come out for this moon cycle, given all of the other things that are happening on the planet. And I like to focus on the positive. I like to be optimistic. It's been an interestingly difficult time for me personally to keep my optimism and spirits up, which it usually is not. And I still do feel very optimistic on a higher level about what's happening on the planet, if just for the idea that more and more people are understanding the reality of what we're living in. And I think that's really important. But the Hurricane Helene that hit western North Carolina, where I live, and eastern Tennessee, threw me through a loop that I didn't expect. And it's because of my own personal history with hurricanes, I think. And it just kind of brought me into a place where it was more difficult to stay in a higher level of consciousness for a while. That was the 6th hurricane that's directly affected my life, and that's a lot from small town girl from Wisconsin. And this episode isn't so much about that, but I did want to just bring that piece in to demonstrate that we all have our life circumstances and karmas that we are dealt and things that we are given to overcome in our lifetimes as part of our process, as part of our life's path, as part of our evolution. Part of my evolution and karma and all of that is the ever presence of hurricanes in my life, especially even in places that you don't necessarily think that they'll happen. Of course, the first couple were places expected to happen. The first one was Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. I was a freshman about to start university. The second one was when I was a senior at that same university, and we had to evacuate New Orleans because that one looked like it was going to hit directly. It did not hit directly, but it still caused a bit of damage, not as much as Katrina. Then a couple years later, I was packing up to go to school in New York City for the next 2 years. And both of those years, at the very beginning of the school year, Hurricane Sandy and Hurricane Irene hit New York City, affecting it dramatically. A few years ago, Hurricane Ian took out a beloved family member's home in Florida, which is still not rebuilt completely. And then this one, Hurricane Helene, in the mountains of Appalachia. And I'm not even somebody who lost my own home, well, except for, in New Orleans for Katrina, that was a 6-month thing, but I didn't live there, right? I didn't have roots there. I had friends who lost their homes and their families were displaced who were from there and went to school with me. And folks in much more dire straits than I. And that was always clear. But despite that, there's still internally felt trauma from those situations, especially the first one, that I've let go of I thought until they keep happening. And then I'm like, oh yeah, there's still something there in that. Okay, I'm feeling a lot inside. It's like muscle memory. It's like a feeling that comes in that's almost paralyzing sometimes. And then we are empathic beings. We feel things. And the energy in North Carolina the last few weeks was a lot, understandably. A lot of energy of loss and sadness and hurt and death, and then so much anger and rage. That's what I felt. I would never speak for anyone else. That's what I felt. But I was also cognizant that it's not all coming from me. I'm picking up on energy in this area, in the state. It just was more difficult than usual to rise above and be at a higher level of consciousness and see that all of this is meant to be happening, or that it was allowed to happen for whatever reason that I can't see. And I guess I'm sharing this my hurricane experience, not because it is unique, but because it's not unique. Everybody has their own version of this in their lives. Every unique individual has their struggles and burdens and growth experiences and karmas that they go through, where it makes it hard for them to be optimistic sometimes, hard for them to stay at the very top level of consciousness and understand that there is a divine plan, and that even though it doesn't feel like it sometimes or seem like it sometimes, there still is. And God is definitely paying attention. Supreme Being, Source, Higher Power, Great Spirit. As you know, on this show, we encourage you to feel whatever word or words come to mind when we talk about the supreme power that runs this universe and this reality and this existence. And that is paying attention to this, and is not only paying attention, is intimately involved in everything that is occurring right now. And I guess what I'm saying is that even when we're in the midst of our struggles, and can be difficult to be one way, if you want to be up, be positive, be grateful, be faithful, be happy, be blissful, and it's difficult to at that time because of the struggles that you're going through, that happens. But it doesn't mean that that power, that source, is not there. It's always there. And so we get to feel what we need to feel as much as possible, let go of those feelings as much as possible, and continue to know on a very deep, powerful, soul-soothing level that there is a divine thing unfolding right before us. And there's evidence of that. Sometimes it's not for all to see. Sometimes faith is required. But a divine thing is unfolding. A divine cabbage, if you will. Why a cabbage? A cabbage has many layers, kind of like an onion, but it unfolds. The divine cabbage of this moment on this planet is unfolding. It's moments like these past few weeks, watching and participating in the cleanup from the storm here in where I live in Western North Carolina, And the community coming together and everyone working together, it brings out really beautiful things in people. It really can bring out the best in a community. Not that you want something like that to happen for that to unfold, but it's a really deeply beautiful thing to see everyone coming together to help their neighbors and community members. And when that happens, it's like the other side of that difficult pill to swallow of the thing that happened to elicit those reactions in people, these neighborly reactions, these community reactions. And it just goes to show that there is different sides to everything. Now, expecting the unexpected right now, I guess it just means to be open and ready and surrendered. And we've talked about surrender before on the show, but just to remind folks who might be new, being in a surrendered state is one of the most powerful, if not the most powerful state that you can be in. It's not weakness. It's not limiting. It's not giving up. It's not powerlessness, as this world has sometimes tried to portray that concept of surrender. It's not any of those things. It is stopping the fight against nature and allowing for natural law to unfold in your life and in the course of this world. Surrender is your most powerful point when you just stop the struggle and stop the resistance and allow nature and the divine to unfold. And it doesn't mean that we don't do anything. We go, we live our lives, we help our neighbors, we work to support our families, we vote if we want to vote, we continue to pursue the things that our souls are wanting us to pursue. We continue doing that, but we also allow space for great and wonderful things to unfold, for new life, as the card we pulled said, to unfold, as blessed, the other card that we pulled for this moon cycle, to unfold. These beautiful energies amidst this uncertain and somewhat frightening landscape, but it's also a new horizon. And so to be openly expectant, optimistically expectant of anything that may occur and will occur is something that we can do right now to ensure that the best and highest outcome for everyone does come to pass. And we don't know what that is. I don't know what that is. There are certainly outcomes that my human self are more attached to than others. Just as I'm certain that whoever's listening to this, you also have that. You also have your desires for certain outcomes. Here's an example. I want all the wars to stop. That's my human self being attached to an outcome. I want everyone to stop invading everyone else. That's an overarching outcome that my human self is attached to right now. But is that the plan? Is that the divine cabbage unfolding? Is that the way it's supposed to be? I don't know. I know that the divine plan is the best and highest outcome for all of us and the planet, and hopefully the surrounding planets and universes that are in fact impacted by what we do here. And that's something we don't think about or talk about enough. But if we have a war, a nuclear event, and not just things that big, even smaller things happen on this planet, it affects other planets with other beings on those planets. I can't prove that to you, but I don't really feel like I need to anyway. That we're all connected. All of these things floating around in the universe, we're all connected. And so there may be other beings in the universe that are focused on us right now, caring what happens at this moment in time, because whatever happens may affect them and will affect them. That's something to think about too. There's been a lot of, I wasn't even going to go into this direction, but here we are. There's been a lot of UFO disclosure material floating around lately, and just more acknowledgments from various governments that these unidentified flying things do exist and are not man-made and are not from this planet, or made by humans, at least. And I'm not going to put a stance out there. I think it's obvious. I mean, I've said, for years on this show, there's obviously millions of other planets and civilizations, and definitely beings that are more advanced than us. I mean, that's just logic. It's just math. But that's also something that is potentially out there right now that I haven't, frankly, been even thinking about. It just kind of popped in, so I'm talking about it now. That's also part of the expect the unexpected kind of theme for today. Wasn't even thinking about it. Dropped in. I'm going to say it. I actually read a book on Audible called Imminent by Luis Elizondo, who is a person who worked in government who knows what he's talking about when it comes to that kind of stuff. I found it very enlightening. If you like stuff like that or are interested, it intuitively, to me, feels like a very honest, truthful account of his experiences while working in these dark budget, various agencies and operations, if you're into something like that. So I wasn't even thinking about that, but yeah, that's all of that can be put under the expect the unexpected as well. I don't know what is going to happen. I don't know what it's going to look like, but I can reiterate what I talked about a few episodes ago, which was this feeling of, is this the moment? This feeling that I cannot shake, even in my stupor and sadness and rage the last couple of weeks, that I've personally been feeling and has been difficult to rise out of, is just that. Expecting the unexpected in this climate where we don't know what's going to happen. And somehow knowing that it is guided by the divine. And knowing that this may very well be the moment. This may very well be why we all incarnated. Why we came into these bodies to be here on this planet at this time with all of this. I was going to say all of this chaos, all of this chaos, all of this glory, all of this new life, all of these blessings, all of it. And what was interesting is the last few weeks during events that were happening here where I live, and I got to be with several of my community members over this last month, some of them brought that up themselves too. This feeling of it's right now. It's this. This is the moment. This is why we're here. Like this is like, we had our childhoods, we had our adolescence, and some people are still children and still adolescents and everything like that. But that this moment in time is the moment that we came down for because of all the things that are happening right now. And that we aren't, most of us, myself, I will say, allowed to remember what the outcome is going to be and is supposed to be. Because where's the fun in that, as my angels would say? What fun would that be if you remembered what was going to happen? But that's the truth. That's the truth that I'm feeling right now, is that this is a very important time. It's a very important moment. And because of that, it is important for us as much as we can to stay high vibrational, to do what we need to do to be pulled out of lower vibrational emotions and energies and consciousnesses and states. And that's been difficult for me the last few weeks. And maybe you have all of your ways to do it. I hope you do. And I do too. It just has felt like slogging through a thick fog of fatigue and emotion and tiredness. I guess that's what fatigue is too, but you get my point. So it's not always easy. But because we're at this very interesting moment on the planet, we can try as much as we can to be positively expectant. Maybe that should have been the title of this episode, Positive Expectancy. But if you've gotten this far, that's the message I want to leave you with, is let's do that. Let's be as positively expectant as we can. And the problem with that and being human is that we are attached to certain outcomes, like the one I just shared before. We're attached to certain outcomes. What we get to try to do to be surrendered and positively expectant is to let go of our human desired outcomes and really allow for whatever is the best, highest good for all of humanity to come through. And that doesn't always seem or look like the most golden, blessed thing sometimes. Sometimes things need to happen in order for other things to unfold that will lead us to the best and highest path for humanity, so that people can wake up and decide what kind of world they want to live in and how they want to live in it. I'll leave it there for today. Thank you so much for listening. Stay positive, stay safe, and stay meta.
The Let's Get Metaphysical podcast is an Up and Awaken production and is produced and hosted by Renata Maniaci. Our intention is to raise the vibration of the planet by sharing, validating, and normalizing spiritual and metaphysical experiences. The Let's Get Meta podcast is inspired by angels and supported by angels. If you would like to be an angel donor to the podcast, visit patreon.com/letsgetmeta. Thank you for listening. Stay meta.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.
Let's get meta.
Metaphysical.